What's up guys, it's Josh from KeepItTechie, and today I wanted to show you guys another Linux distro called Clear Linux. Now there are plenty of Linux distros created for specific purposes. For instance, you have Kali Linux or Parrot OS, which is basically built for cybersecurity. You also have Rail CentOS for enterprise and business servers. Well, Clear Linux was created by Intel to test and benchmark their processors. And they did such a great job creating this distro that AMD even recommends using this operating system to run benchmarks on their new CPUs. And another cool thing about Clear, it was basically built from the ground up and is not based on any Linux distro. So let's go to their website and read a little bit about it. Okay, cool. So I have Clear Linux website up and it's clearlinux.org if you want to get to it. But it says Clear Linux project. Clear Linux OS is an open source rolling release Linux distribution optimized for performance and security from the cloud to the edge, designed for customization and manageability. Now you could just click the button right here to download Clear Linux, but let's go on and read a little more. Here are some of the features. You know, it's open source, stateless, built for customization with over 4,000 complete packages available, dependencies with verified updates, Intel optimized. That's one cool thing about it. It's highly tuned for Intel platforms where all optimization is turned on by default. So this is a good OS if you have like Intel processor or a newer, you know, laptop that you purchase with an Intel processor in it. This is optimized to actually run on it, and you shouldn't have any problems installing it on one of those systems. And then also it states close to upstream. Clear Linux stays in a lockstep with upstream, always stand on the latest version of the kernel and compilers. Daily security mitigations deliver available security updates to customers rapidly. And then if we go down, this everything you need to get up and running with Clear OS, well, Clear Linux OS. They have desktop. You know, we understand desktops are not a one-size-fits-all. Clear Linux offers options that are tailored specifically for developers' production. Learn more about this on the page. Now, one thing I wanted to do was go to the documentation, just to give you guys a little bit more information on how to actually use Clear Linux and what it's actually used for. So let me get here. So if you clicked on documentation just like I did, that's one way of actually looking at more information on the distribution. And one of the things I want to hone in on is the target audience. A lot of times, most documentation, they'll have like a target audience, but I wanted to specifically read this to you guys so you guys can understand the purpose of Clear Linux and who is actually being targeted by this distribution. So it says Clear Linux mainly targets professionals in IT, DevOps, cloud, container deployment, and AI. Rather than making a standard Linux distribution, the Clear Linux OS team decided to build a unique Linux distro. Developing a distro in-house allows us to experiment and interact faster, which means we continually optimize performance and deliver security patches several times per week. Yet our experiments are only valuable if our software architecture gives you the freedom to innovate too. To improve manageability, Clear Linux OS employs a stateless design, separating user and system management. So that lets you know, the target audience is really for, professionals in IT that want to do, either programming or testing of different hardware. You have a system to actually run those type of tests on. And let me scroll back up. I forgot to show you guys the actual licensing and all that stuff. Clear Linux aims to be completely open source, our project source code. So you can click here and that'll take you to their GitHub page. And you can look at all the source code for Clear OS or Clear Linux OS. And package source code are available on GitHub when considering project for inclusion. We check that they are active development and well maintained. And I probably should have read up here, but it also states that Clear Linux is not intended to be a general purpose Linux distribution suitable for novice and end users. So yeah, I mean that's one of the main sentences I want to point out to you guys. It's not intended to be a general purpose Linux distribution, for novice end users. While we ship common applications, our purpose isn't to make an OS for routine desktop tasks and provide immunity from all security threats in all situations. Our unique focus means that what we consider essential use cases, optional use cases, or even unsupported use cases differ from other Linux distros. And that's where it tells you to look at the target audience, which I read earlier. No pun intended, but I hope that clears up the target audience for whom this Linux distro is created for. So let's go ahead on and install it so you guys can actually see the system in action and we can play around with it and just see what it's all about. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead on and start up the system. I already have a VM created. And I gave the system 4 gigs of memory as well as 2 processors. And I also gave it a 30 gigabit hard drive because I'm unsure of how big the OS will be with all the updates and all that stuff. So I just gave it 30 gigs. But I always set up the hard drives as dynamic, so it'll grow as needed. So it won't take up that full 30 gigabits on my system. And I'll be installing it in Oracle VirtualBox. So if you guys have any questions on how to use that, I created a video a while back on how to actually use VirtualBox, but you can use that to install all your different distributions just to play around with it, so you can test different distributions out and see if you actually like them. So let's go ahead and start this VM up and let's get it going. So yeah, cool. So it's booting up. It shouldn't take too long to boot up. This is the live ISO, so it'll boot right into Clear OS. And I'll adjust the display settings when I get into it, just so it'll look proper on the screen. And actually, let's remove those bars because I don't like showing those bars anymore. But let's go in and modify this right fast, just so you guys can see the desktop properly. So we go under display and let's make it boom. So this should be good on my screen. So let's minimize this or actually close this and let's go down and start it up. So this is, it has its own desktop. I really like that background. It's pretty cool. It goes along with the name of the actual software. But the way you install it, once you boot into the live ISO, you just hit the start menu or the activities little button. If you know how to use GNOME, it's the exact same way. But you just click install Clear OS and then we can just go through the install process. And it's a pretty simple process, just like anywhere else, but all this stuff is created by Intel. I didn't see in the documentation that they pulled this from anywhere. I think this is all, everything should be built from the ground up according to all the documentation. So you just go in and pick your time zone. And let's start with mine, Americas, and then Los Angeles. And press confirm. Keyboard, it's already set to US on the keyboard, so I'm not going to click on it, but select the media. So we want to do safe install, which is fine. It'll install on unallocated disks and along existing partitions, which it doesn't matter because this is a clean drive. Nothing is on it. If I was to, if I had something on this drive already, I would do the destructive installation, which erases all data first and then install, which we don't need to. And then also they have the option to enable encryption. And then as well as you can partition the drive yourself. So I'm gonna just use the safe installation, which is fine. Doesn't matter. Let's hit confirm there. And then we can go down and create us a user. So I'm gonna just do Josh and then my login, Josh, and then put in my super strong passwords. And also make sure that box is checked as an administrator, and then hit confirm. And then telemetry. Now this allows this allows your system to send anonymous information back to the developers, and that's really so they can make adjustments to the environment, make improvements and all that stuff. But it doesn't collect any personal identifiable information. So you don't have to really worry about that. But I'm gonna just hit no because this VM is gonna be destroyed. It's not gonna be up. So there's no reason I'm not gonna be able to send them anything of value other than how it installs in a virtual machine. And then also they have some advanced options. And that's one thing that's not clear about it. It's almost like hidden because of the colors. You can't really see it. When I first did the install on this, and I did this install a couple months ago when I first seen the article of it releasing. But anyway, they separate a lot of the advanced options, which you can go in and just check and see what's in here, which none of this stuff I'm gonna really change. It's already checked for everything. Well, you can go in and select certain things if you want to, if you only want certain things installed, I guess. But the check mark means that it's gonna install whatever you select. But you basically have to go in and select what you want installed. So you could put, this is a lot of programming stuff and other features you can add to the system versus, the base system. So, Python, Java, Pigeon, I'm not going to put any of it on it. You can assign the host name, which I'll go down and do that. I'm going to just name it clear and then confirm. And then you want to select the LTS, which is fine for the kernel configuration. And then they have a software update configuration. You can specify a specific mirror, and then you could test your network settings just to make sure you connected to the internet, which I already know we are. Now we can go down and hit install. Just wanted to show you those advanced options because it's easy to miss since they put the install button on the first page, because that's all that's required of you to actually do the install. Now this will pop up basically saying that it will partition your drive. So you just want to hit confirm here, and that'll go on and start the installation process. So I'll put on some tunes as usual and let it go through this process. And just so you guys know, what I'm doing is changing the power settings so I can leave this thing going and it won't go to a black screen, so you guys can see the full install. So Okay, cool. So the installation is done, and so let's just reboot the system and boot right into it right fast. And I may have to fix the display settings again, but we'll do that when it restarts. And then I'll adjust the display settings when it comes up. Okay, cool. So the system is up. Let's go down and log into it and set up the desktop right fast. Okay, cool. So the desktop is up. Let me go down and change the display settings right fast. And if you use GNOME, then this is nothing new. But let's change this right fast so you guys can see. And I'm not going to fully go through the system. Keep changes and show you guys GNOME, because you guys know GNOME. So if you've used GNOME before, then you understand how this works. But let me open up the terminal right fast. I just want to show you guys. And let me zoom in a little bit, just so you guys can see. And swupd is basically the package manager, which it kind of replaces apt and yum. You know what I'm saying? And it installs bundles versus packages. And I know I said packages, but what they call it is bundles. And you can check for updates and all that stuff using this command. And the way you manually check for updates is simply sudo swupd and then check dash updates and press enter. And this will check to make sure you have the latest version. It says current OS version, latest server version. This is the new OS version available. And one thing I want to show you guys is if you're going to use this desktop or this distribution, you want to turn on automatic updates. And I'll show you how to do that from the command line. You want to do sudo swupd, or however you say it, and then auto update. And if you run that command, it'll enable the auto update, so you'll get updates automatically on the system. And in case you want to disable that, you just basically run the same command, but after the auto update, just put dash disable and press enter, and that'll disable it, so you don't have to worry about the systemctl service that does the updates. And you can run them manually just by using the check updates, and that'll check for updates and then update them. And also, if you don't want to play around with the command line, you can always, just open up the software center, which they have. And I apologize, I opened up Evolution, but the software center is pretty much just like any other software center on any other distribution that has GNOME running on it. Same exact thing. All right, and let's click let's go shopping. But you can install what they call bundles, and then also flat packs are available for this distribution. And if you don't know anything about flat packs, it's basically a virtualized or containerized application that you install on your system. So everything is containerized or virtualized on the system. So you're installing it, but you're not. It's containerized. But anyway, it's just updating right now. And let me close Evolution because I accidentally opened it up. That's what that is in the background. And you can go through and install different applications, just like on any other distribution. Now it has, a whole bunch of applications in here, similar to other distributions. You know what I'm saying? You can go through and look at through the different categories. I know you can install Blender, you can install GNOME Music, you can install which actually that's installed on here by default. But Kdenlive, all the packages are here, VLC, as well as other tools you can go through and check out for yourself. And I'm not sure why they don't show the image here. This happened the last time I installed. It didn't have the image, it just had this square. Some of them did, like this Atom doesn't look like that. It has a different image or logo, but certain ones have it, certain ones don't. so you have to search or whatever. And you, just like any of the others, you can look at what's installed. You can also, do your updates here as well. So you can refresh, it'll look for new updates, and then update the system if need be. So you can do everything from the GUI, just like any other desktop environment. But just looking at it, it comes with Firefox install, Evolution, like I told you, pretty much all the GNOME applications. GIMP is installed, HTOP is installed by default. Let's just open up HTOP so you guys can see that. And let's go down and close it. But you know what I'm saying? It has all the basic applications that you would need to actually run a desktop. But like it said in their documentation, this system is really not built for a daily driver, so to speak. You can do benchmarking, you know what I'm saying, and play around with some of the software on here, but it's not built for like a daily driver. So I wouldn't recommend that, especially since they state that in their documentation. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please check out Clear Linux for yourself. It's a pretty cool distribution, something to actually just check out. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't recommend you guys using this as your daily driver. I mean, you can, don't get me wrong, you can use it as a daily driver, but I wouldn't recommend it. You know what I'm saying? But otherwise, it's a solid distribution. But if you like the video, please hit the thumbs up button. If you got any questions, leave comments down in the comment boxes below. And of course, keep it techie.